Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Austin, Texas. We're here for the Venture Outfitter today. We have a very special audience or a very special group to share with us about different things. But as we've been talking about over the last few weeks about preparing for South by Southwest, today's program is about integrating some of the experiences about what happened and kind of give you a little bit of an overview of what I saw. But we have some special guests in our studio audience today that are going to tell you about their different organizations and what they're up to. There is a handful of organizations that really stood out to me, and I wanted to make sure that we gave them a platform to be able to share just a little bit more, because I know that our community will be very interested in hearing more about this. So we're here for the Venture Outfitter. Our work together is, this is part of the community of entrepreneurs around Tech Ranch, the whole idea about supporting each other around the world. And as I know that on the streams, a lot of times we'll have up to 15 countries represented. I'm really excited about this today because there was so much activity from all these international locations during the South by Southwest, far beyond anything we've seen before. So I'm real excited about what that represents and how the Venture Outfitter can serve those entrepreneurs across those different areas. Thank you to our studio sponsor. This is DuoWorks. If you're looking for a closed door office or a mailbox, anything in between. One of the great things about Linda Blackman and her team is she really caters to the needs, the unique needs of different organizations. Especially a lot of our international organizations leverage this place. You know, sometimes they'll use a WeWork membership or something out to have access across the United States, but they need something very specific to cater to. And Linda and her team do that. If you're interested in co-working memberships or anything else around that, the nice thing about DuoWorks is they're right in the middle of Austin. If you look at the big map of Austin, downtown's not the middle. Actually, it's kind of like a little bit north of downtown is the middle. So, but what we'll do is if you're coming to Austin, if you're still here, or if you're following up on what just happened in South by Southwest, our team is here to support you through things. You can send an email to start@techranchaustin.com or start@techranch.com works fine as well. And part of the idea is just to get people connected in. So we've had a full series of programs starting on February 16th, as you can see. And part of the thing that, for those of you all that didn't see these programs, all of this content is recorded. I've already gotten a lot of questions about, hey, that why Austin talk? We only got to see you speak for 15 minutes during South by, or maybe 20 to 30 minutes during South by. Perhaps there's more information available. A lot of this information is available on our YouTube channel for the Venture Outfitter for free. So just take advantage of it, especially things like exploring the U.S. market before you enter. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Doing business in Texas. Why would you choose Texas versus California as an example? And then back in February 16th, why Austin? What's unique about this town compared to, say, Dallas or Houston that are not too far away? Why is it that I would do business or someone might do business in Austin? All of that content is still available to you, and it will be out on the YouTube channel as well as in our community site for the next forever. So next week, we will be doing live from Lithuania. I'll be in Vilnius, Lithuania, working with the Lithuanian government. I'm real excited about what's happening. I will be giving a speech at their FinTech conference, which is called the Davos of Lithuania. And a lot of what the temperature that they've asked me to share is specifically about what's happening in Austin and in the United States, and especially with announcements around what's been happening around Silicon Valley Bank and some of the crisis around that. We have some interesting things to share back and forth. The other thing is the Office of the President of Lithuania is very active in looking at Austin and other parts of the world. They're leveraging our connections around the world to plug in. Now, Lithuania has very special history. We'll talk more about that next week. Join us if you're interested, and especially if you're looking for specific tie-ins to Lithuania, let us know. And coming soon, we've moved around some of the timing just based on what speakers have asked for. Our community member, Christia Hoffman, who is a branding expert, and very international in her background as well. Are also the TechCrunch community formal poet, which is kind of exciting. She's going to talk about creativity and how to bring that into your company, especially as we're a lot of times when we're heads down driving towards a result. How is it that we can actually keep the creativity alive versus crushing that out? And then we've had to move our supply chain we have a supply chain organization that's a sister company to TechCrunch. This has been moved to April 27th. Specifically, a lot of what's happening is there's a real massive realignment in supply chains, from historically, North America to China to North America between Canada, the United States and Mexico, and then other parties as well. In fact, some of our European parties will be plugged into this conversation. So join us on the 27th for that. And if you're looking to enter the US market, this is one of the programs that I have been talking about a lot. We're going to be launching another cohort. A lot of times we have two fundamental areas. We have individual programs for individual startup scale-ups, companies. And then we have programs that we do with ecosystem partners like governments. This program, we're going to group a group of cohort of companies together, give them a really great price. If you're interested in being a part of the cohort, just ask for more details. Send us an email at startit, or you can send them directly to me at kevin@techcrunchaustin.com as well. Either one will work. Main thing is there is a lot of interest in this specific tailored program during South by Southwest, and we are going to be, putting together a small cohort around this using some of the processes that we use for the larger group. That being said, today, part of what we're going to do is we're going to have a shout out from Julie Hutchinson. She runs an organization called Core Performance. Last week, I mentioned that there is a personal development channel inside of the community, and that every entrepreneur needs to get involved in some form of personal development. Part of the work that we do, it's just not something like you're having to adapt on a daily basis and grow. Julie, if you're here, please do a shout out, join us, and tell us all about this.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Hutchinson. Nice to be with you. And basically what Kevin said is everybody that's doing incredible work around the world as we're entrepreneurs and we're out there doing things and making the world a better place, we really need to have a groundedness in our physiology. And so what Core Performance does in the personal development space is teaches people how to move into a state that we call coherence. And what coherence is when your heart and brain are aligned. And what we mean by that is that the heart, we work with the heart rate variability. When the heart and the brain are aligned in a state of coherence, we perform at our optimal level. Our brain works better, we focus better, we sleep better, we're healthier. So if you go to the very next slide, I've just got one more slide on here. This is a really good representation of what it looks like when you can move into this state called coherence, which is on the right-hand side. Your brain works more optimally. When we are out of sync, when we are in stress, fight or flight, overwhelmed, burned out, tired, we're not working at our optimal pace. So what we do at Core Performance is we help people align the physiology of their optimal performance so they can perform at their best and be as healthy as they can be.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, I'm actually in some of Julie's classes, and part of what I know is, as an entrepreneur, that I'm coming up on my 30-year anniversary of being, starting my first company. The number one thing, cognitive flexibility, learning constantly and all that sort of stuff. It's something that you just constantly have to do. We'll have Julie do a full program on the VO Weekly coming soon. We haven't scheduled it out yet, but we will do that. So thank you, Julie, for joining us today. And she'll be posting also into the personal development channel. If you haven't joined community.techcrunch.com, make sure you do. And if you're interested in following up, you can follow up both on this program that will be posted into the community, as well as she'll be available in that channel too. I post a lot of activities into the personal development channel just because I'm convinced that probably one of the most important things that I've learned as an entrepreneur over these 3 decades is that when I'm not learning, something's broken. Something's broken. And it's not just the business learning. It's like there is an internal rebuilding oneself consistently. I know that from my martial arts background of 30 years of Japanese martial arts, as well as just being in personal development work. So thank you, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, so today's program really is about integrating experiences after going to South by Southwest Interactive. One of the things that I think a lot of times people have it's crazy a lot of times at South by. In fact, this year, it's my understanding that this year we had around 285,000 people come to South by. They're still here. I mean, you can still see it on the streets of Austin, that there's still a lot of people. And I don't know, typically I go from March 10th to the 15th, and then I disappear and I go to just disappear someplace else, anywhere else for a few days. This time our activity started on March 8th and then led all the way till today. So it's been more than a week of activities of speaking almost twice a day, interacting with our different delegations and stuff like that. And I thought it'd be interesting to share just a couple really quick thoughts, and then most importantly, to hear from some of the different people that are presented that I think really were standouts for what I like to see happening and I'd like to see enhanced at South by Southwest. So first thing first, I won't, since I've already gone through some of these type of things in previous talks, and we'll be having some follow-on. The number one thing that I want to start couching in about entrepreneurs that come to something like South by Southwest is to know the distinctions between market exposure. You got a sense of something by coming for a few days at South by Southwest versus market exploration, really looking deeper into the market that you're looking to serve versus market entry. My concern, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is a lot of times we'll have entrepreneurs that maybe came to South by for a couple of days, but they hop straight to opening an office. And a lot of times the breakdown on that is they haven't gotten to learn enough when it's inexpensive learning to really be able to take advantage of that. We'll talk more about that in future Venture Outfitter Weeklies, because it's one of the things that we can actually save a lot of scar tissue. In fact, I joke about it this way, that as a long-term entrepreneur, I have scar tissue, and the Tech Ranch team, all of our principals have entrepreneurial backgrounds. We have scar tissue to donate to you, so you don't have to do that. And especially with this idea of going from market exposure and then figuring out how do you explore from there. We'll talk more about that. But South by was great. You can see me and Bajoy Gwasami, for those of you all that we're two of the original gangsters of the entrepreneurial ecosystem here. It's great to connect with him and lots of other friends. Part of the thing that I said in the previous program was, as you're exploring South by Southwest, you need to look around the domain of your profession for what's most interesting for you. You need to look at, or you don't need to, but you should also look at what are you passionate about, and trying to acquire experiences around what you're passionate about, and then picking something about exploration. And so I don't know exactly how the timing of this, but part of what I'd like you, if any of you went to South by that are available in the studio audience or that are watching the streams right now, part of the question that I'll ask is, okay, what you do for your profession, what you do for your passion, and then what you do for your exploration. But I'll share part of that myself right now. So for our Global Venture Bridges reception, we had a really nice Global Venture Bridges reception. We had delegations from 12 different countries in the room with entrepreneurs from Austria to Japan to Germany to Mexico to Chile to there's Argentinians. It was quite great to have that. This is just a couple of photos. There's a little bit of video that's going around as well. But real happy about that. We're going to follow up on that activity with more information about what's happening. And you know, part of the reason it was so great to bring everyone together is a lot of times people can't imagine what I get to see about how we're connecting Japanese technology into Mexico for production for products that are going to be sold in the United States. There's a battery company that sort of activity is now happening with. In fact, one of the technologies that I'm taking to the office of the president this next week in Lithuania is that same battery technology, because it's so revolutionary. And you can't really see these connections until you're in the room. And part of the way we ran the program is we heard from Russ Finney, who's at the University of Texas. We heard from Dr. Andrew Nerlinger, who runs the Pandemic Tech Accelerator and the Global Health Security Fund as well. Several different groups. We heard from Wendy from our partner organization in Adelaide, Australia. We heard from quite a number. That being said, instead of me telling you about it, I'm going to show you a little bit of what's been happening. And we have a couple of the people behind the scenes in these that we're going to hear from. So one of the really cool delegations that was here this time that we hadn't seen before, that I was really excited about because of projects that we've done in the region, was Jordan. And we're going to hear from Amer in just a second, but I figured I'd show you part of the delegation. They brought some really cool music. They brought the coffee that I'm drinking right now. I have to show you this one video before we hear from Amer though. So what was happening there is all of a sudden they caught everybody by storm. This is right, the video clip that I shared is right at the very beginning, before there was quite literally hundreds of people surrounding the Jordanian booth. And quite a number of people started dancing in this one Jordanian dance. That being said, Amer, let's hear from you. Tell us really quick about what's happening with Jordan and the delegation, and any other thoughts that you have. Just
good morning, Kevin. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for hosting us.
Thank you.
We were really excited to come to Austin to attend South by Southwest. Jordan is the first Arab delegation to exhibit at South by Southwest, and we were proud of it. We had a great delegation, above 30 people that came, and we were very pleased to have the hospitality of the Austin people. And Kevin, I cannot thank you enough for all the help that you've done for us. And I can tell you this is the first, but not the last time that we will exhibit. We experienced firsthand the amazing vibes, from music to food to technology. And I wish we stayed more, but we had to go to San Francisco because our team are exploring the US. We're started by South by Southwest, and then we're in San Francisco, and then we're heading to Washington, DC. What I want to tell the audience, and I don't want to take too much, that Jordan is open for business. We are a friendly country that has a lot of partnership, and we are eager to have you guys come and visit Jordan for business and for tourism. And feel free to shout out or reach for me through Kevin, and we're happy to help.
That sounds great. Thank you, Amer, for being here today. I really appreciate Jordanian hospitality, and really enjoyed getting to meet with your entrepreneurs, and as well as the food and everything you brought. I'm looking forward to. I have personally only been, the closest I've been to Jordan is in Ramallah, which is right next door. But looking forward to the opportunity to build this bridge with you. So thank you for joining us.
Looking forward.
Well, cool. Well, so then the next delegation that is doing quite a lot in Austin. This is Levon. Levon just opened up. He is the Czech trade representative, originally from Prague, now has moved to Austin at the Capitol. This is in the Secretary of State's office. Levon actually is opening a trade office. Levon wasn't because the Czech organization is on an airplane right now. He wasn't able to join us. But part of what's happening is, as several of you know, we launched a venture bridge between Prague and Brno in the Czech Republic with Texas. We'll be following up with a lot of activity here as well. And it's kind of exciting to see that kind of commitment. Again, the thing that's real exciting is, me as a long-term, technology entrepreneur based out of Austin, Texas, to see that countries are now taking South by Southwest as well as Austin so seriously to open up trade offices. Singapore as well, we had a delegation that several of the organizations, Tech Ranch, along with Mark Cervantes from the Q branch, and Tyler Johnson from the Loai organization, had a program that we did with the delegation of entrepreneurs that you see before you. Australia, we have had a long-term, probably the longest term relationship between Tech Ranch, Austin, and Adelaide, Australia. Adelaide is a sister city to Austin. And part of what was happening here was it's a 40th year anniversary of the sister city relationship. And so we were celebrating this, but we had a panel specifically talking about, there's the disease. I've shared the story before. I'm not going to take our time right now, but the disease called leishmaniasis that Tech Ranch helped broker relationships between South Australia and Ethiopia and the World Health Organization Africa, specifically around that. But there was also some other music that was there as well. I'm going to hop over it just because for the sake of time, but we'll make sure that this is posted with in the community so you can see more. So the Ukrainian delegation, was quite a few Ukrainians here this year. It was great to see. Ukraine, the woman on the right in that photo is running the Ukrainian Business Leader Program. We've worked with her organization, American Council, based out of DC, also with the Uzbeks, with Uzbekistan. There's a lot more activity that's going to be happening here. In fact, one of the shout outs that one of our Tech Ranch members, who's based out of Prague, is leading a program called Invest in Bravery. It will be on April 20th in Kyiv, in Ukraine. There's a lot of coordination that's happening, and we've got support from the Consul of Ukraine based out of Houston, as well as quite the Czech government has gotten behind it as well. In the Czech Republic, sorry. I need to drink more of my Jordanian coffee so I can talk. But as everyone on this program knows, I have a very special place in my heart for Ukraine. And there will be a bunch of follow-up that's happening about this as well. We'll hear from the several of there's two major delegations of entrepreneurs that Tech Ranch is going to be supporting as they've returned back to Ukraine. But part of what will be happening as well is we're going to hear from them. We'll bring more of them onto this program in the coming weeks. And then delegations from Norway. There's two different cities that we've had long-term connections with, Kristiansand and Oslo. This is a couple of the people from the Oslo delegation. And then Alberta, Canada. One of the long-term technology incubator supporters in Alberta used to actually run the Austin Technology Incubator here. She's now taken over the state and doing all sorts of interesting things. We'll hear from them as well in the coming soon. That being said, there's some old time Austinites as well, the Rainforest Partnership. We're going to hear, Beth, are you still here?
I'm here.
Jella, bring her on and tell us all about the Rainforest Partnership. Give us kind of a short background about what's happening with the Rainforest Partnership.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Or I should probably just say good day, because where we refreshed the Rainforest Partnership Tech Ranch connection was at Australia House yesterday. And the reason we were there and the reason that we're at South by is a little non-obvious. It's not just to tell people about the incredibly powerful and impactful work we do on the ground with rainforest communities. to enable them to embrace their own economic destiny and therefore defend the forest. But we're actually here looking for partners who want to unlock abundance alongside us through win-win-win partnerships that are entrepreneurial in nature, because we've got amazing platforms and activities that have that entrepreneurial bent. And so it may be unexpected, but those are a lot of the conversations and relationships that we've been extending and initiating while we've been here at South by Southwest. We're headquartered in Austin, so it's been an easy access for the week, but maybe no less intense or no more intense than anyone else who's been going at it for 7 days straight. And I know I'll sleep later. Thank you, Kevin, for inviting us to come and share a little bit of the story of RP today. I'd love to connect with anyone for whom there's resonance in the potential of these kind of collaborations. And the best way to reach us is through either through Kevin in Tech Ranch or connect with me on LinkedIn. There's only one
Beth on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Let me just say, connect with her on LinkedIn because yeah, I have a stack of business cards like this. I'm not even, connect with her on LinkedIn, or each one of our speakers is going to be invited to the community. And typically on this today's show page, part of what will happen is there's going to be a connection point there. So anyone that's interested in the follow-up, don't send me an email. Don't send me an email. I'm dyslexic. I don't process my email fast enough. And I overwhelm Jello as my assistant all the time with just the sheer amount of volume of email. So the right way to do it is either find Beth on LinkedIn, or we'll make sure that she's in the community so she can follow up. So sorry to configure that on the fly, Beth.
No, that was brilliant, and I look forward to it. And just once again, thanks for inviting us to be part of
your event. You have an event too, so it's in the back of people's minds about what's happening. When is your event?
The big global event is World Rainforest Day, June 22nd. Rainforest Partnership is the global creator and convener of World Rainforest Day, which we gave to the world in 2017. And we are actually, for the last 3 years, we've launched the Global Summit, which is a way for more intense, focused engagement for everyone. You don't have to be an expert or a scientist or an organization on the ground. We're looking for what businesses are doing to celebrate and embrace and support forests, as well as individuals, families, educators, filmmakers, creatives, because we all have to take our place in space in the protection of tropical rainforest and our future and climate. So thank you again.
Thank you as well. Okay, great. Well, then, so thank you for joining us. And yeah, I'm getting a couple of jokers out there saying, connect me to Beth. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, now. Yeah, everyone will be able to find each other on the community. And thank you for understanding that I do that. Next person we're going to hear from is Pradeep, who I met last night. And this is the Health Innovation Exchange, and he can tell us a little bit about WinFUND, the fund that's actually that's been started. This was in conjunction. I met them through Dr. Andrew Nillinger and Dr. Lisa McDonald, who originally had started the Pandemic Tech Accelerator. Lisa went off to start the Texas Global Health Security Initiative, and now she is, they both have, Andrew and Lisa have started the Global Health Security Fund. But at an event that they had last night, Pradeep joined us. Please, Pradeep, tell us about this.
Kevin, thank you very much. And it's really a privilege to be here. Maybe just a little bit on why we are doing the WinFUND, and I'll come to the WinFUND. 1 out of 2 people globally don't have access to essential basic healthcare. And if you start looking at the average life expectancy, in several countries that we work, it's about 54, whereas sitting in Texas at 76, Geneva, where I live in Switzerland, it's 86. So there's a huge gap between the potential of people and where we are. So in order to respond to that, the only way we can get essential access to healthcare is by bringing innovation and technology and many of the things that you're doing and supporting so many entrepreneurs with. But if you're a woman, especially in Africa or Asia, your access to investments and financing for setting up your enterprise to deliver healthcare or any of the other enterprises is very, very limited. Only less than 2% of venture capital goes to women-led enterprises. So the WinFUND is really about investing in women and women-led enterprises that can deliver access to healthcare. We have started in Africa, where we are now working in 6 countries. We are investing in 50 innovators, women innovators in delivering access to healthcare. And the WinFUND is really about bringing the beauty of a distributed network of experts through a NFT. Really great to see you wearing the beautiful one of the NFTs that you have on your t-shirt there. So bringing expertise that is spread all over the world, that is necessary for many of these innovators to deliver what they're doing. So that's what the WinFUND is about.
Thank you for that. So how would you like to get individuals involved, right? So what's the right way to take actions to take action in supporting what you're up to?
We have 2 asks, actually. One is if you go to winfundnft.org or you follow us on Twitter, you can actually join the WinFUND and you can buy one of the beautiful pieces of art. You can scan the QR code there. So we would love you to become a member of the WinFUND by buying one of the NFTs. It's about 0.08 ETH, which turns out to be around $130 or round about that. By becoming a member, you become also a mentor and a resource to many of the innovators that are on the ground. We will connect you with the innovators, and we would love to leverage your expertise to help them. And every dollar that goes into the WinFUND goes directly to the entrepreneur in supporting their work. So join us. It's beautiful art done by an African artist based out of Rwanda, and we have NFTs that will really connect you to the projects that we are working with.
That's absolutely beautiful. And it's my honor to have you on the program. And it's great to meet you and your team last night. And I look forward to helping our communities integrate together, because a lot of this whole notion of leveraging entrepreneurship to transform the planet together is really powerful. And it's so I'm excited to see what you guys are doing. I'm going to become a member myself. So I will be I'll be joining the community later today, and I appreciate the whole process. So thank you for joining us and telling us about this, because this obviously is very important work in the world.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And the expertise that you and others bring from this community would be such a transformative support to women out there who are really delivering healthcare on the front lines. It's very powerful to have you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, so let me do this. I'll bring the screen back up again, just so we have it. If anyone didn't catch the URL, we'll make sure this is also in the show notes as well, both on YouTube as well as inside the community. Certainly, part of what I want to make sure that I shout out to everyone, I've told y'all a little bit about my experience in Nigeria in the past, working with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Emmanuel Ibogo, and then a woman named Dr. I always mispronounce Miriam's last name, so I'm not going to try to butcher it. But part of the thing that I think is really interesting is by working across the world, given that the internet can bring us much closer, there's definitely something very powerful about that. So, well, part of what we'll do, though, is everyone knows that kind of what I'd like to do is I'd like to take questions back and forth. I know we're having a few things that are happening on the stream here. And if part of what, there's always a chance to have, part of the reason we use this format is to have some interactivity back and forth. I don't know if there's any questions that anyone wants to ask. I know that today we don't have as large of a studio audience here, but we definitely have people online too. Any questions that anyone wants to pose to one of our speakers, please let me know. We can certainly take that. Or actually, I can say, Pradeep, Julie, or Beth, if you have any follow-on type of things you'd like to say, we have a little bit of extra time before we close up for the day. I'm just wondering if you do, it'd be great to have you share. Julie, it looks like you came off of mute. Did you want to say something more?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I really enjoyed the other speakers and what you're doing. And I just connected with you, Beth, on LinkedIn. Pradeep, I'm going to connect with you also. I think you guys are up to some really beautiful things. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, wait, it's exciting too about how entrepreneurship has been being taken into areas that it's not been considered in the past. You know, it's been considered more of you know, like a different type of support. And I think obviously I'm a zealot for entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship can transform everything. It's great to see that both in the Rainforest partnership as well as the WinFUND. Pradeep, tell us more about what's happening on the ground, just to give us kind of more of a sense of things.
Thanks, Kevin. One of the striking features of the health sector is that 90% of the frontline health workers are women. And it goes back to what you said about the role of entrepreneurship as being fundamental in changing every aspect of the world, right? If you are doing something day in and day out, then you gain an experience and expertise. And that's what's happened with women in the front lines. They're coming up with solutions that can be really impactful. And that is what we need to be, one, investing in. That's where the WinFUND is looking at putting money. And number two, for me, what has been striking is that all of us give money to charity. I mean, all of us give money and we are very happy with that. We have done our job. But what I find really powerful is that if I get, let's say, $500 from you, Kevin, that is good, it helps. But what is more powerful is that $500 combined with the skill sets and networks that you bring, that can really be such a powerful support to people on the ground who are struggling with the same issues. And you don't have to be living in Makueni County in Kenya to be able to do that. You can do that. And that's where the power of connectivity today. You can be sitting anywhere in the world and still provide that hands-on mentoring. And that is what we need to be able to leverage. And for me, what is not acceptable is that if there is a difference of 20 or 30 years in the life expectancy of people, that is immoral, and we need to change that. And that's where I see, as entrepreneurs, as innovators, if we can come together, we can make that difference, because the traditional models are not going to get us there. And that's what is powerful for me.
Yeah. I mean, one of the ways that I've said this, and I'll echo what you're saying, is 5 minutes of someone's insight. Like one person, when we run our campfire events, which, you know, a couple hundred people in a room, and, you know, like part of what the model that's now happening across the virtual community originally got started in you know, just in a co-working space. Part of the thing that I noticed was 5 minutes of insight from one person in another person's life in the context of entrepreneurship can be a fundamental transformation. Now, I've quite literally in Austin, I got to do that with around 10,000 people, more than 10,000 people. And it was like transformative for Austin. And what we're now in the process of doing is taking that learning and taking it online. But to echo what Pradeep is saying, the idea about it is don't just give money. Don't just give money. There's like the problem with that is it doesn't have any you know, there's not any spirit or ethos or fun. You know, it's like with your insight, you can actually change things. Now, for me, I'm going to give a shout out back to Dr. Emmanuel Ebogo. There's a couple different times that it's also been interesting as we build these relationships. I originally met him in Abuja in April of 2018 as part of the Pandemic Tech Accelerators program there. The other thing that I've noticed, and I think that people would not expect this, and I think I shared this story last night, is there have been times that me as a entrepreneur in this world, I've hit the wall over the last few years where I needed a little bit of a pick-me-up. And it's kind of funny talking to Emmanuel. He's in much harder situation than me, but has such a great opinion and attitude and stuff like that. And it's interesting because every once in a while, I mean, he was applying for a process at Harvard as an example. And because I've known him for such a long time, I actually was part of the support process in that activity. So I was helpful to him. But the other side of it is the help back to me about just keeping things in perspective. It can be that simple. It can be that simple. And a lot of times people don't really realize how powerful just the relationship, right? It's like, don't just send money, there's something that can happen with the money, the financial support, plus the more depth of insight. I definitely, I'm already sold on the concept, and I'm looking forward to getting to expand things between our networks and between our communities. Any other things you'd like to say, since we have a little bit of time together before we close up for the day?
If I may, first of all, I just want to amplify and elevate what those points about collaboration and partnership. I mean, traditionally, there's been such siloing of the nonprofit sector, the for-profit sector, and the public sector. And I think for those of us who have as many decades as I do, I won't speak for anybody else in the room or on the call or who's watching it, we've seen that model of going it alone or staying in your lane is not getting the job done. It's not efficient in the use of resources, which is ridiculous, and it's not producing the impact and results. Well, breaking down those silos and finding those powerful collaborations, it's integral to what we do. It's why we have at Rainforest Partnership one of the worst names for SEO, but one of the best names to talk about our model and our work, because partnering is how we're going to get there faster and more effectively. And I urge, whether it's collaborating with us at RP or whatever you care about, find people who are already doing it. Don't worry about if they're in for-profit, nonprofit, public, individual. If it's community-based, get in the game and do it with others, because we're going to get there faster together. And don't assume there's so much in the way of, and Kevin, it's why I'm so grateful for what you're doing and for being here today. Social entrepreneurship, social good, and the principles of the nonprofit sector showing up in entrepreneurialism, and the principles of entrepreneurialism showing up in the nonprofit space, that's how we're also going to accelerate results. And so it's thrilling to be in this space right now, because I think it's at the forefront of where we should be going, where we need to go to get where we all want to go.
Exactly. I mean, for me, one of the things when I do get up on my soapbox every once in a while, I will say, you have not tasted American freedom, like the whole concept of what the American dream is. You haven't tasted American freedom until you've been an entrepreneur. And part of what I mean by that is the notion of empowerment to be able to do things, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. One of the mistakes that sometimes Americans now make, and I think one of the reasons that we've seen a decline in entrepreneurship in this country, as our politics is divided, as we don't have as many people becoming entrepreneurs. And part of the reason for that, I believe, is because of this issue of, we've gotten divided and we're trying to go it alone. There's one of my favorite African proverbs is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's partially what this whole setup is for. That's what this community of practice, this country community of practice is for, is to really drive those type of activities.
If I may just jump in, Kevin, I think it's so critical, that whole idea of intersectorality. If you really
Politics,
want to
P-O-L-I.
It's interesting. All of a sudden, Siri took over my screen. Sorry about that.
No, it's interesting. We probably need Siri's help to add to the voice. Siri wants to be a collaborator, perhaps, as part of the partnership. I think it is that intersection where I completely take the point that silos have really killed development. It's really divided. It has not helped us to move forward, because today, working in Africa, working in Asia, we are seeing that if you want to scale access to healthcare, you need to go the digital route. But then between 50 to 70% of the health infrastructure doesn't have electricity. And without electricity, you won't have running water, you won't have lights, you won't have refrigeration, you can't have real-time data, and you can't have internet connectivity, right? So you're missing out on so many things. But unfortunately, the energy sector doesn't work with the health sector. How do you bring these people together? How do you bring, and when you put entrepreneurs in a room, we usually find ways to solve problems because you start looking at opportunity. And that's what we need to be able to cultivate across these various sectors if we can do that. And that's why I completely take the point of going further together. That's the only way we can do it.
Well, it's one of my hopes. One of my hopes, and one of the reasons that I advocate so strongly from an Austin value set, is one of the things that's implied by South by Southwest is the South Road is interacting with the Southwest Road, and at that intersection something happens, right? The name of South by Southwest comes from that concept, right? The thing that Austin is a reflection of that, and I hope that this Austin model of entrepreneurship that we're bringing to the world, it's no longer about Austin. It's about creating those cross products. It's about creating, like you're saying, the intersection between health and energy. Or in the case of Austin, we have a lot of different, like, data meets health type of interactions. And, it's because of the historical connections that IBM brought here that then, with the younger digital health entrepreneurs that are meeting, that then something happens out of that intersection. I do think that intersection is part of what we can be looking at and building out. And so, Pradeep and Beth both, I want to make sure, and everyone else that's listening, whether you're listening to the podcast, whether you're listening to the stream, or you're, listening to this live right now, the thing that I think is really critical for us as we build the future that we want to see, right? There's a lot of crisis, a lot of concern, lots of all the other stuff, and people can get distracted by that. But the hopeful thing that it drives me is this idea that we see evidence of this kind of cross product happening. It's now happening at scale in our little community of practice that started out, however many years ago. We're figuring out how to do it digitally, go like long distances where we, bridging many different places in the world. It's kind of exciting to see. So what we'll do is, let me just do this, since we're coming to the end of the time that we have together, and since Pradeep and Beth, I have you on screen. If you'd like to just say a couple of things to wrap up, please. They use this as this is exciting because this is the sort of stuff that I get excited about going to South by. It's like, if we're going to have all these crazy people coming in from all over the world and all that sort of stuff, and the streets end up getting clogged up, the benefit is exactly this. So with that, would you like to, the three of you, if you have any closing words, please take this as your platform to do so. Who would like to start? Beth, would you like to start?
Well, sure. First of all, thank you again. And it's been an incredible South by. It's back, it's big. It's been an amazing ride, and it's not over yet, because what starts at South by extends into the year that follows. So delighted to meet you all, delighted to connect with many of you, look forward to all the good that's to come, and to figure out ways in which we can collaborate, whether that's organization to organization, individual to individual, because there is so much we can do. I will just add one other thought, and it does seem that the news is bad and the world is challenging. But let me tell you, I get up every day rooted in hope, knowing that progress for all of these things is possible. It is possible, it's within reach. It's not Pollyanna to say that, because when you see what works and you know that it's a matter not of finding ways to do it, but just finding the ways to accelerate and scale, it's exhilarating. So please, even on a bad day, find the green shoots of hope for things that are making progress. If not, reach out to me and I'll connect you with some. And I look forward to maybe this group coming together 1 year from now, and we can share stories of hope, optimism, and progress.
Beautiful. Thank you, Beth. Julie, what about your perspective? Like any closing words? And I know we're going to have you come on to a future program to go more in depth about the process you lead people through. But what would you like to say in closing for today?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. This is such an amazing community of like-minded people, and I think all of our hearts are really in the right place of making the world a better place and being connected on a deeper level. And I know that as we go through this in the business world, it can be extremely stressful. And if anybody is dealing with stress, overwhelm, burnout, not sleeping, feeling anxiety, I have all kinds of free resources on coreperformance.us and our YouTube channel. And I've got also a free webinar that you can watch on the 5 steps to biohack your physiology to improve your performance. So if anybody's needing just a little bit of boost, feel free to just reach out to any of those channels, coreperformance.us, and grab those free resources. And I look forward to continuing to be part of this community.
Thank you, Julie. And Pradeep, please, if you don't mind, closing words that you have, especially as we plug into your WinFUND.
Kevin, first of all, thank you very much. And also huge thanks to Andrew and Lisa who connected us, and the Global Health Security Fund and the work that they're doing. I think one of Austin's best things that you've given to Geneva, where I live, is having Andrew and Lisa coming over and living with us there. So it's wonderful to have them in Geneva, where a lot of the health conversation happens, and they are influencing a lot of that conversation. For me, this is the first time I've been to a South by Southwest, so it's been an eye-opener for me. It is fascinating to see how art, development, technology, innovation, all that, you put that into a melting pot and you have something beautiful emerging out of it. And for me, when we started working on the NFT project, looking at art and using art as a way to connect innovators and resources from all over the world for healthcare, quite a few people in Geneva were like, they were laughing at us. But coming back here, seeing this, it's so inspiring. So it's been a kind of a reassurance for us and refreshing to have that melting pot. So it's been such a privilege to be here, and looking forward to coming back, and looking forward to being that part of that change that we can make together. Thank you so very much again, Kevin.
No, thank you. I really, really appreciate you joining us today. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in Geneva. I miss Lisa and I miss Andrew a whole lot. I miss Reggie too, their daughter. And so, yeah, certainly at some point you're going to see me in Geneva as well. So yeah, I mean, we have, let's bring up on the screen just one more time the slide. This will, the URL winfundnft.org will also be in the, it'll be in the show notes for anyone that'd like to find and make sure that they mint their NFT to join that community as well. It's important stuff. This is partially what we're all here for in this community of practice of entrepreneurs. So part of what we'll do is, well, you know, in just in reflecting on what Pradeep just mentioned, you know, part of the reason that an entrepreneur like me moved from Silicon Valley after working for, you know, Steve Jobs and all that sort of stuff back to Austin, I'll tell you quite literally, there is something about the hippie musicians that settled Austin that made this like a very special place. And, you know, the culture's changed a lot, but it still has that core of importance. I saw that at South by this year. And you know, I kind of missed it. Like I missed some of the, I missed, and I'd forgotten how much I'd missed it, because I think last year at this time when we were coming out of COVID, we were still kind of shook by COVID. We were shook by those 2 years of not having South by and not having the Austin identity there. So with that, we'll keep on plugging forward. If you haven't been involved in the TechRanch community before and you'd like to get involved, go to techranch.com/connect. There's several different URLs that are there. Probably the most important one is you're welcome to join our community for free to get onto this community's platform. We just moved off of Slack onto a new platform called Circle, and it's community.techranchaustin.com or community.techranch.com, but you can easily find that URL at techranch.com/connect. There's also a place to sign up if you have a entrepreneurial background and you have scar tissue to donate to other entrepreneurs. Sign up as one of our mentors. This is partially how we can build this community of practice. And if you represent a specific country that you'd like to make sure we start making connections into, we have something called a country manager program that there's a whole orientation to plug in with. Make sure you take advantage of that as well. And that information is all on techcrunch.com/connect. So in just wrapping things up, it's been, I really appreciate our speakers today coming on and talking about each one of the areas that they carry. And we'll have follow-on programs about each one of the organizations that you met today, as well as several of the countries that we're building bridges as well. You know, the main thing to do is if you have questions about connecting in, make sure you go to the community site. There's going to be a specific page for this, that there's going to be a lot of details underneath about how to connect in. And if any of the different authors want to, you know, say, hey, this is the next step on this one journey, we'll make sure we put that there. Jello is really good about pulling together those notes and those points of action, so you don't have to depend on me, because I'm going to Lithuania and I haven't even gotten a decompress from what just happened with South by Southwest. So right after this, I'm going to start the decompression process. So, but with that, let me just say, it's my honor to be a part of a community of entrepreneurs driven by vision and values. Let's go change the world for the better together. With that, y'all take good care. Thank you for being here today, and let's go change the world for the better.